Good morning. Grand rising to each of you this morning. This is Charlie Riverman Bergeron here on the southwest coast of Maine in the USA. And my apology for being a few minutes late, but we're in the middle of the beginning of the storm Elsa arriving and creating its chaos and heavy rains. Uh, we expect to move through this relatively easily, but there is always that challenge of what if? And unknowingness, which is today's talk, the freedom of unknowingness. What perhaps does that mean for any of us? What is our ability to tap into not having to have all of the answers and rely on the fact that when we're not necessarily knowing everything, there is a part of us that returns to innocence. And in that innocence, we return back to who we truly are. And in that moment, we're free. There's a freedom. There's a freedom that is very uplifting. Good morning, Terry, and joy to see you. Happy Friday to you. And for those of you who are perhaps in a different country, perhaps it's Saturday, and perhaps it's evening. So here it's 10 o'clock in the morning on the southwest coast of Maine. So as I arose this morning, lots of busyness came into my mind about today and what I could talk about and what was needed. And the word freedom really was sticking in my head. Freedom, freedom, freedom. What does that mean? And I pulled a small card from the deck from Ashanta Gabriel, which is messages from Archangel Gabriel. And this little card, very tiny little cards, and it's just got one little statement. It says, "Your way to freedom is by total acceptance of your incredible differences." And it really threw a lot of things into the basket this morning. Is how can our differences really be part of our freedom when our logic mind says we need to think alike and we need to be more in agreement, and all of these ideologies of that we've lived with for thousands of years of civilizations trying to organize and control and make all of our incredible differences align in a pattern with a group collective vision of what our life existence should be. As I tapped into that this morning, this is, part of the journey of letting go. And letting go is really about freedom. It's about letting go of all of the stories, all of the teachings, all of the rules, the regulations, and coming back into our hearts and trusting what is coming from our hearts, and not looking back at our childhood experiences or our adult experiences or past life experiences, whatever experiences we have, They tell us, be careful. You may not want to say that. You may not want to do that. People don't like that. That is against their sense of normalcy. So what's happening right now is we have this amazing new moon. And this amazing new moon is really inviting us to let go of a lot of those rules and regulations, to be free, of that confinement of our minds and the confinement of our hearts. And as many of you and myself included have, uh, excuse me, gone through many changes over the past year and been contained and been sort of imprisoned, if you will, we are now walking out into a world that doesn't quite look the same anymore. It's familiar, yet many of us are feeling something has changed. And we're not exactly sure what that is. That's what the new moon does. The new moon does that. It makes us take a new look. That without the light of the moon, we're in what we would consider darkness, but it's not really darkness. It's just that lack of light to guide us. And so we have to go within ourselves. We have to dive within ourselves and trust what's coming up for us. And many of us are having challenges because what's coming up for us isn't so much new, but it's something we've sort of avoided for a long time. And that avoidance is really, who are we? What are we really here to do? Why am I doing this when I really want to be doing this? How did I get here? Why are people all of a sudden, I'm not fitting with the people that I've been with for a long time? Why are we in our individuality somehow looking at each other as if we're strangers to each other? And in relationships, especially within families, that's even deeper because there's a history of time. Whereas perhaps work acquaintances or associations through communities, they're relatively new relationships. And most of us have been seeking relationship in those areas in order to identify who we are. We are mirrors for each other. So this whole process of this freedom of unknowingness is allowing ourselves to let go of, I have to know the answer. And that's been entrained to us since we were little children. What's the answer? And what's the answer? And we've been entrained to respond with an answer. And when we didn't respond with an answer that whoever was asking us was expecting, or trying to program us to learn, we were always punished in some way. There was a punishment that came with that. There was a dismissal of our own owning what we were saying. Doesn't mean that we're given free right to just do anything. But the moment we get dismissed by anyone, irregardless of what it's for, it hits us in the heart and we stuff it. And right now, all of that needs to be let go of. And that's the reality is that's freedom. The freedom that I'm talking about today isn't freedom from what's outside of us. It's an inner freedom. It's a freedom from all of the stories and all of the pains and sufferings and abuse and whatever happened in our lives. It's to free ourselves from that, to take this empty space of the new moon and let it go into the darkness. Let it go. We don't need to see it. We don't need to know what it was. We don't need to recognize anything other than I seek to release. I seek to release all that no longer serves me. And this is, again, we've been traveling on this journey for a while. And for the rest of this year, I can see that this is going to be unfolding every cycle of the moon, every cycle of the energies, the gateways. Lionsgate is coming. All of these things are going to be opportunities for us to get rid of, and the word purge away all that no longer serves us from being who we truly are. And who we truly are is much more than just a human being. We're not only this physical body, we're part of Mother Earth, we're part of the universe, we're part of a higher consciousness, multi-dimensional, multi-level consciousness that dwells in the quantum field. And we're just beginning to become awakened to that. And it's mind-blowing on some levels, and it can be very scary as well, because all of our sort of rules and boundaries are no longer tangible in many ways. And it's like, ooh, can I think this? Am I allowed to think this? And we're looking for somebody to tell us, no, you can't think that. And then, oh, good, thank you. How silly is that? Every time we negate who we truly are as these beings that can have consciousness, and we deny that consciousness, we're just keeping ourselves at a lower level of who and what the full potential of what we are is. So, learn to let go of the past. Yes, it's about letting go of the past. And when does forgiveness stop and entering a loving moment? The minute we agree to be a loving moment. And this is what we've been taught. We've been taught to react to things in certain ways. But the truth is, we are love. That this heart that we have is a toroidal field that generates love 24/7, whether we're thinking about it or we're not thinking about it. It is part of a greater system of what we call love. It's an energy field. And it begins even when we're in the conception stage in our mother's bodies. And it just expands into this physical body as we come into this physical body. And this physical body is not the beginning of us, nor is this physical body the end of us. It's a period in which we have come to experience life in this form, shape, manner, and pattern. We live far beyond this. And that's when we look around the world today, this is what we see. We see groups of people who are fully in control, or seem to be fully in control of Mother Earth. And they want us to act and react in certain ways. And they are designing and figuring ways to keep us in that little pattern. And as long as we stay in that little pattern of thinking and in a little pattern of teaching, then that's all we will, that's as far as we will evolve. And what's being guided right now is Mother Earth. When we look at Mother Earth and all what's going through, everything is changing to break us out of that pattern. That no, it can be 121 degrees tomorrow. Watch this. No, we can have a storm that can be devastating or not devastating. This is not to be controlled by humans. And when we start to try to control the patterns of a being such as Mother Earth, Mother Earth is not going to just sit there and say, oh, that's okay, that's very nice. There's going to be a reaction. And that's what this new moon is also telling us. Come back to Mother Earth. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling that your old thinking patterns are just too confusing and you can't adjust, come back to me, Mother Earth. Sit with me. Find a place to come back and join once again with me. Get out of the rising tides. The rising tides are designed to overwhelm everyone. And we've been taught not to swim against the incoming tide. And the reality is, as long as we stay in that mentality, in that place within our head, then we will always be overwhelmed by the incoming tide. I love the fact that water always becomes involved in this, and the moon cycles are the rhythms of the water. There's a surface water and an inner water, and they act in opposition. And they're all regulated by the energies of the moons and the stars and their effect on this planet. And when we look at ourselves, as some will say, we're 99% on a molecular level water. So we are water beings, and we're affected by the cycles of the moon. We're affected by the cycles of the tides. We're affected by rain or lack of rain. Not so much as we look at it physically. If we don't have water and thirst, we will die. But we are water beings. So what is ever affecting the water is affecting us. I had no intention of going along this thought this morning, but it's becoming more and more prevalent as it's raining and we have the new moon and all of this is happening. And what does the water do? The water replenishes, renourishes, washes away what's no longer needed. We may not like it, what it does, based on our human desires, but it is a perfect cycle within Mother Earth. Just as what's a perfect cycle within us as humans to survive is a perfect cycle of our survival. And what we need to do now is to come back into balance with that. So for those of you who are feeling overwhelmed of all of this, the news, the the propaganda, the storytelling, the uh, I'm better than you, this way is better than that way, etc., etc., etc. We need to have machines that fly and without using gasoline and all of these other things. We already have this, but it's not being given to us because nobody wants to let go of the old pattern. And so we have this trickle down effect when we could have it so much quicker. But what's happening is the world of humans are realigning. Those who are in control are realigning and reconfiguring everything in order for them to stay in control. And as long as we have that hierarchy and we're not expressing and not allowed to express who we truly are, what's happening will continue and continue and continue. And Mother Earth will suffer and suffer and suffer. And in her suffering, the reaction will be overwhelming for many of us. So I'm asking everybody to come back to Mother Earth. I'm asking you to look at Mother Earth as part of your heart. I'm looking that connection from your heart to the water, the water that's flowing through you, the water, the oneness of everything, that we are here as not separate beings from anything. And come back into a place of unknowingness. Let go. Let go. Can we come into our hearts and let go? Let go. And say, I don't know. I don't know. What happens if I let go into my heart and I decide to fall deeply within that emptiness? Will you disappear? No, you won't. What will disappear is a lot of the stuff that you are not, a lot of the stuff that you think you are, a lot of the stuff that you've been taught that you are, a lot of the stuff that you've been told that you are, in order to support a system for somebody else. I'm talking about sovereignty. How do we come back into the sovereignty of who we are? We use every single manifested ability to bring us back in there. And it's in nature, because we are water and earth in our living form. And we need to reconnect to that part of ourselves. Our trust in those who are selfish, obviously, has eroded our living standards. And each one of us right now are suffering from that at some level. We may not be consciously aware of it, but I feel very confident when I say that all of the suffering that I am enduring in this moment is not really of my creation, but of my inability to see something different. And I can't see something different if I keep reading the same newspaper every day. And what's what we have to come back to Mother Earth. There is only one story with Mother Earth, and it's creation and co-creation. And it's that power of simple innocence. It's not always pleasant, it's not always pretty, but it is always in community with everything around it. And the gift of being human is that we have these brains that if we really tap into the energy of Mother Earth and work with her and work with the stars and work with the planets, we come back into that quantum field that exists beyond humans' conscious awareness. It has always been here. It always will be here. And no matter what we do as humans to it, it will never be overcome by us. Because we're just like tiny little cells in our body to the universe. And we change all the time. Come back to you. Who are you? Who are you that is changing? Who is it that inside of you is changing and seeking the truth of who you are? And know that the truth of who we are as a species of humans here on this planet is far greater than we ever thought. And I ask you to look at children, the young children of the world today, who are now creating tools, instruments, creating products that the master scientists haven't figured out. And now the scientists are working with young children who are in elementary school, working with them, listening to what these children are saying. Because they realize that in their studies and their teachings, they're stuck in what they believe. And the freedom of a child's mind is not stuck, especially the children now who are coming in with further advanced abilities. And this is who we are. We are those children as well. And it's our time to look into ourselves and let go of all the things that are no longer serving the greater whole of who we are. And I just, want you all to just know that when we shift and change to loving ourselves and listening to ourselves, and even those moments of crying, even those moments of anger and pain, and learn to sit in the stillness and allow it to be released. In that moment, we access a freedom that we've not had for thousands of years. Because what we're doing is re-entering into the wholeness of Mother Earth. We're re-entering into the wholeness of the universe. When we talk about wholeness, it doesn't mean we all stand with our own thought and punch each other in the face with it. It means that each and everybody's thought is a fragment. And if we can bring all of those fragments together, what would the creation outcome be of that? If we all aligned in a peaceful thought, in a kind thought, in a loving thought, and sent that to the world. We are these powerful beings. And yesterday, Global Heart Team, which I love, on Thursdays, it's a small group on Good of the Whole, but we gather and we're led into a meditation. And every week it has a theme that somebody comes up with, but what's important is that we come again with just open heart resonance. And I'm going to read this to you that came out of yesterday's. I usually write something either in advance because of the theme of it or what's coming through me. And as I joined the group yesterday, I had nothing. I was empty. I had nothing. And the message was about the reservoir of the heart. And two things struck me. One, a reservoir is a body of water to me. And as a water advocate and water being, that really hit home. And I thought of liquid love. What if we realize that in our beingness, we, instead of knowing everything, let go of it and say, I am liquid love. What if I use the freedom of unknowingness to come into that place of, I am liquid love? And what if I was a reservoir of love? Let me speak this into your heart, the reservoir of love. The smile of love is always held in precious and caring energy, waiting for the opportunity to rise and flow to all in need of its light and peace. It is in our stillness that the reservoir becomes witnessed and confirms within us how powerful it truly is. Unconditional love. How precious and omnipotent. Silently waiting our choice to share it with others. Let us all travel deeper into this reservoir, witnessing its endlessness and readiness, honoring who we truly are as love, the divine source of all life. Love becomes light and then flows with peace and is eternally replenished without our struggling. For it is we who are that reservoir eternally and momentarily embodied in this physicality. Take a deep breath. Relax. See yourself as a reservoir of love. See yourself filled with love. No matter what is going on in your life at this moment or in any moment, find a way to sneak into nature wherever you are, even in the middle of cities. There are gardens, there are parks. connect with Mother Earth and remember that you are a reservoir of love. And from this moment on in your life, if we come to that stillness, that place, that freedom of unknowingness, and just rest in that reservoir, bathe in those waters, everyone on planet Earth's life will change. It isn't about going out and doing big things, as wonderful as they are, forming giant committees and councils, wonderful gatherings. The change that we need comes from within here. This reservoir leads to an inner ocean. And it's tapping into that inner ocean of non-understanding. It's too vast for us to understand. But just come to know that it's there. It has always been there. That we came out of it, and yet we're still in it. Trust. Trust yourself. Trust your heart. Not the heart that the mind wants to direct, but the heart that hurts, the heart that cries, the heart that wants to embrace an innocent child, the heart that wants to feed the hungry, the heart that wants to be in the garden, working with the soil, because this is the heart of Mother Earth. This is the heart of the water. This is the heart of who we truly are. Thank you, my beloved guides. Thank you. I wandered off my show notes. I've wandered off into my heart, into this reservoir for this morning's talk. I hope that in some way words that I have said have resonated within the waters of your heart. And it's not that you are to be like me or I'm to be like you. You are, each one of us, to be who we are from that reservoir of love. And the past will let go. It has no strength to hold on. The only power it has is the power we give to it. And this is what we're remembering. That if we don't give our power away to what doesn't serve us, it will just vanish because it has no power of its own. When we stop worshiping leaders and leadership and all of these false ideals, these structures that we've built for thousands of years, thinking we needed to have that, rather than trusting the power of who we truly are, everything will come back into balance. And in that balance, what we will realize is that coming from love, living from our hearts, everything will come back into balance. It's we who have strayed away from the balance in seeking our own power, seeking our own wisdom. These two halves of the brain have led us that way. The heart is the true path. Become one with your heart. And in becoming one with your heart, you will become one with all other hearts. Unconsciously. It will happen, and you'll wake up and you'll start to recognize it, and you'll start to see it. And I say this because I'm witnessing it within myself. It's written in teachings. It's always been written in teachings. We're all individuals. We're all unique. As the little card says, your incredible differences. We'd be totally bored if we all saw the same in each other. 8 billion unique human beings. What would happen if they all realized how beautiful, how powerful, how much they had to give to each other with love? What would the world be? You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And neither are you. And this is what the revelation is about, is we're waking up. We're awakening to the full power, potential of the full power we are. And we're doing it for each other. Why? Because we love. We are love. Bless you all. Thank you all. It's a joy to be here. It's a joy to share what comes through me. Hopefully my words have touched your hearts in ways that will make a little difference. And I look at it in my own life that if I just change a little, it's much better than not changing at all. So keep the faith. Be with Mother Nature. Be with Mother Nature. I think I wrote, let us step out of the chaos and into our local wilderness, no matter how large or small. Let us take moments to unknow something and see it as if for the first time again, from a place of innocence. Let us remember that the word freedom is not about fighting for something. It's a natural order of life here on planet Earth and part of its structure. I love you. I thank you. I respect you. I am you. You are me. We are unity. Remember the reservoir of love right here. And when you feel it getting low, call in the rain. Have it refill. Because we're the ones who block the rain right here. Open the mind, allow the rain to flow, fill the reservoir, share it with the world. Have a great week. I'll see you next Friday morning, hopefully. And let's keep going. Let's just keep pouring the love out to the world. Let's keep letting go of the pain that we have endured in our lifetime. And for those of you who remember other lifetimes, whether they're yours or not, whatever those memories are, let them go. They're no longer needed. There's no room anymore. No room for those anymore. They occupy too much space and too much time. Be loved.